Hello and welcome to another fantastic episode of the Fantastic Mr. Podcast. I am Justin Strange here with my two lovely co-hosts, Jerome Kramers
Hey,
and
what's up?
Zack Briggs. Today,
How's it going?
today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite TV series since I was a little kid, the Power Rangers. So sit back, relax, and listen to us geek out once more as we go Power Rangers. All right, so let's get started. So tell me, guys, what are your feelings before we get with the information and all that? What are your feelings on the Power Rangers, Zach? What do you think about them?
Well, I'm looking at this article, and Power Rangers came out when I was actually months before I was born in August. I'm born in December 1993. And I grew up with the Power Rangers. Early 2000s is what I remember the most, but it's a moneymaker for merchandise, and it's like Star Wars in a way. But it's something I grew up watching, but wasn't totally like thrilled with all the time. I mean, I just watch it as kind of white noise. I enjoyed the fighting sequences and the music, but it was just something in the background for the most part. The 2017 movie kind of reignited my interest, I'd say, in the Power Rangers franchise.
Okay, cool. What about you, Jake?
Totally oblivion. Never seen it. Not even clips. Don't know anything about it.
Man, do you know that they wear helmets and spandex?
I do, and they're also like really. What is it?
Cheesy?
Cheesy and like racially motivated. Like the black guy's the Black Power Ranger, and like the Asian guy's yellow. And at least
Asian
it was
girl.
maybe in the earlier seasons.
The Asian girl.
Whatever. I literally just have never seen it.
That's true. That's fair. Okay. So here's the scoop. Oh, let me go and I guess talk about. So the Power Rangers came out. I was probably about 5 or 6, but I didn't really start watching it. I remember the first time I saw an episode of the Power Rangers, it was a VHS tape of Food Fight, which is with this giant pig that eats a lot of food. And we watched it in school. And then that day at recess, every single one of us went out there and started playing Power Rangers, picking Rangers.
Did you guys have a massive food fight?
No, that part we didn't do. We just emulated the Power Rangers part. But I was pretty young when I first saw that episode, and then I loved them, and I loved them up until like the 3rd grade, and people started making fun of me a lot for it. I got made fun of a lot for liking the Power Rangers at that point in my life. But then I kind of stopped watching them after that, and not because of the bullying, just because I kind of became disinterested. But then when I became an adult and started, not caring, I was like, I'm going to rewatch the Power Rangers. So I did, and I ended up watching it all the way to Power Rangers in Space, and then I kind of stopped. But I still I like the comics and all that stuff, and I watched an episode of Power Rangers Ninja Steel when it came out in 2017, just to see like how they are. Well, at the time, just to see how they were now in 2017 when it came out. And it's the same. It's the same. Like everything about it is the same. Just different characters, different version of the Power Rangers. So.
There's 29 seasons, it looks like, right?
Yeah, there's about 29 seasons. The most recent, I guess, is Dino Fury. I don't know anything about it as far as like who it is and all that stuff. Like I said, I like the Power Rangers, and but I just don't watch the shows because the shows they are super, super cheesy. Kind of corny, and like they're fun to watch, but then I'm like, okay, I've had enough for a while. I'll go back to it later. But I still really,
as a kid, did you think that though? You probably didn't notice any of the cheesiness, right?
Nope.
Even as a 5-year-old.
I mean, as a kid, I was like, this is awesome. Bunch of,
cool.
multicolored teenagers, fighting evil and stuff. So
yeah, transforming into
superhuman
Zords,
and
the Megazords or whatever.
Yeah. So Power Rangers, just a quick history lesson. Power Rangers is essentially an American version of Super Sentai from Japan, which is the same thing. The only thing that's different really is like the American actors when they, do their scenes. And then when you see an American actor in a Power Rangers uniform without a helmet on, other than that, all the fighting scenes and everything come from Japan, and we just dub our voices over it. It's the same thing with anime. It's essentially a live action anime in that respect of the fighting scenes. And so all that. That's why we keep doing different iterations, because Japan keeps doing different iterations. So we're like, all right, well, now we got to do this one. Now we got to do this one. We just get all that stuff and pretty much dub our voices over it.
And Japan's always a year ahead of us.
They really said copy paste, huh?
I mean, seriously.
I heard the newer seasons are more copy and paste than the earlier seasons. I mean, the earlier seasons, and they take their liberties with having different. They got to fit the storyline to American culture and plot lines to a degree. But
is there much of a difference between an American plot line and an Asian plot line?
The only thing that I could think that might be different, and this could have been because of Japan, but when Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie came out, you haven't seen it, Jake? Have you seen the movie, the 90s movie, Zach?
A long time ago, yeah.
Okay, so in that movie, they have to go search for new power because Ivan Ooze is taken their power away. And so they have to go find the great power on a different planet, and they become ninjas. They get new, I don't want to say animals because I guess technically new animals because, originally they were dinosaurs, and then they became actual animals. So they were like the frog, the crane, the ape, the wolf, and the falcon, and the bear. Yeah. So they end up getting new powers and stuff. And I don't know if that was because the Japanese version was going to go to this ninja thing, or I don't know. But that's the only way I could think that maybe it changed because of America. But I don't know that for sure. I should have looked that up. And I'm not going to look it up now. But so anyway, so since 1990,
do it yourself.
What did you just say?
I said, if you're a listener, research it yourself.
Oh, that's a good thing to say to our listeners, Jerome.
We're just encouraging
education. That's fair. The education of the Power Rangers. Anyway, so yeah, they were American version of Super Sentai and from 1993, and they're still going strong. And like Zach said, probably did helps that selling toys and comics and stuff like that. It's just Star Wars.
Toys. I have toys in my parents' garage somewhere. Dolls, Power Ranger dolls. I definitely have the yellow Ranger from Mighty Morphin days, and I have several smaller, 6-inch figures. So I was totally engrossed, but I just, as a kid, I just really didn't follow much. It was just, it's flashy lighting sequences,
different colors,
and the transformation. It was just a lot going on the screen, and it looked cool. And that's the sentiment a lot of kids had. But again, I had, even when I was in early teens, I'd say I started getting not bullied, but I was saying, I got to watch Power Rangers. The new episodes would come out on Saturday. I got to watch Power Rangers.
I was never
what? You still watch that?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. And that's when it started. Oh, okay. Not maybe I shouldn't say
advertise that you still watch the Power Rangers.
Advertising it. Yeah. It's like a guilty pleasure in my early teens. Ninja Storm was probably the one that really sticks with me the most as far as when I'm older. That's 2003 or 2004 is when Ninja Storm came out. And that one, whether listeners care or not, I think it's kind of interesting that they filmed in New Zealand because the cost production was a lot cheaper in New Zealand versus filming the seasons in California.
That's cool.
So they have New Zealand actors, and you could tell. I couldn't tell back then, but I was watching the first episode of Ninja Storm before we started recording here, and you could tell some of the actors are fresh a little bit because of their New Zealand accent slipping into their American accent. But that's one of my favorite seasons that I remember.
It's Mighty Morphin Power time.
Basically.
That's funny.
But yeah, I think the music is what also as a kid, caught me. And like when you hear that the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme song play, which we're not gonna for copyright reasons, we don't want to get sued. Is hearing that it really gets you going, and like you're dropping everything you're doing, and you're looking at the screen, and you're pretending you're a Power Ranger. And doing the whole motions with the T or whatever they do. Looks like you're doing the Wakanda Forever symbol.
Wakanda Forever? Yeah. I got up to Power Rangers in Space. And this was as an adult. Like I watched, because, there's the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the original, has 3 seasons, which are all 3 of them really cool. And then it ended on the Ninja Rangers and all that stuff. And then they transitioned to Power Rangers Zeo after Zordon and Alpha, the command center, was destroyed.
Who's Alpha and who's Zordon?
So
those
Alpha's
are big characters, right? Yes,
Alpha is the Zordon's robot helper, and Zordon is the interdimensional being. He's kind of stuck in like interdimensional portal type thing, so they can only see his head. And so, yeah, it's crazy.
I always thought it looked creepy, to be honest.
Yeah.
Even as a kid, like that's a strange.
He's essentially
what he's saying isn't matching up with his lips.
Well, that's because we're Americans trying to use Japanese footage, and so
I don't think Zordon's Japanese though.
I always thought that their villain was like this big, like bootylicious woman.
Well,
like
the villain is
Rita Repulsa.
Zordon, yeah, Zordon is like their leader. Rita is evil. She's definitely
so
evil.
She's like a mini boss.
Not for a while. She is the main boss, right? And even in the theme song, he says Rita has escaped. And that's why he's got to form the Power Rangers like right now. Find me 5 teenagers with attitude. That's what he says. And then they somehow all 5 of them knew each other, and they were standing right next to each other when they were teleported into the command center. But what are you going to do?
Convenient.
Yeah, very convenient. And so Rita, it was for a long time, it was Rita, and then Lord Zed entered in the picture, and then they got married and blah, 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 blah. So then they transitioned to Power Rangers Zeo. And then they went to Turbo and in Space, and then just kept going after that, man. Just kept going. And in Space,
are they interdimensional Power Rangers now?
There's a Cosmic Fury, I think.
That sounds close enough.
Alien Rangers too.
Well, Alien Rangers, the Alien Rangers were part of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, when Rita had turned all the Power Rangers into kids, and they needed someone to protect the Earth or Angel Grove. And so funny enough, the Alien Rangers they come from under the water. It's really weird, but it was
talking about it was only 10 episodes.
Yeah, it was still pretty cool. And Billy had ended up figuring out how to become an adult, but still the rest of the Rangers were still kids. So the whole time he's trying to figure out how to bring them into adulthood, and the Alien Rangers are fighting for the Power Rangers and all this other stuff. And then there is a big 5-part series called Green with Evil. That's where Tommy was introduced and the Green Ranger was introduced. And essentially he was, for 5 episodes, he was Rita's Power Ranger. Rita's the bad guy. Mm-hmm. He's Rita's Power Ranger. And, he did her bidding until they were able to, get him over to good. Yeah. And then, oh man, I could go on and on about this. And then eventually he lost his power. Oh man. But then they brought him back as the White Ranger. And so,
too many colors.
Yeah. So
where do they meet the Ninja Turtles?
So they meet them in Ninja Turtles, I believe, in Power Rangers in Space. If I'm not mistaken, they met them in Ninja Turtles. And it was when Ninja Turtles, the new mutation came out. It was a live action TV show they had with the girl Venus. And so they met the Ninja Turtles. It was cool, but I was like, it was kind of cheesy at the same time, because when they all met, the Turtles were like, they do exist. And the Power Rangers were like, they do exist. And I was like, okay. But they all fight together.
Those Ninja Turtle suits. Yeah, look so funny.
They were silly looking. I tried watching that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The New Mutation. I think I watched one episode and I was like, I'm done. I don't want to watch this anymore. So anyway, so that's how it came to be, and then it became a huge hit. Kids all over the world were like loving the Power Rangers. I say world, in the US, we're loving the Power Rangers. But here's the funny thing is a lot of kids weren't allowed to watch the Power Rangers because and that was me. I was technically not allowed to watch it. And Jake, you said you weren't allowed to watch it, right? Along with Aladdin or something.
We didn't even have access to it. My parents, I don't know if they just didn't buy the cable package or they just got rid of that channel. We didn't even have
cable package,
cable for it.
Okay. Yeah. So technically we weren't allowed to watch it, but I snuck an episode here and there. And, what was I going to say? Oh yeah. Well, the funny thing is like now that I'm older and I wish, I wasn't that smart back then, but I wish back then I would be like, Mom, these guys only fight when they have to. Like they really only use their powers for self-defense, but
literal superhero television series.
I mean, that's what it is. But the whole the thing was they saw fighting and violence, so they thought, no, you can't watch it because there's too much violence. And it's like, well, they only fight when they have to. But
they only bleed sparks.
But then again, yeah, exactly. And there's sparks coming from spandex somehow. I don't know. Anyway,
you don't see any cuts or anything.
It's no rips, tears in the spandex. It's just they get hit, they fall back, but it's like an explosion. They
spaz out. They spaz out like a soccer player trying to get a red card on purpose.
Yeah. So then that's the television series. Of course, there's movies, there's comics, there's video games, which I played a couple video games when I was a kid, which are really fun. But then we had the feature films, which the only 3 I've ever seen. There's 4 that I've seen. So there was the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, which was a theatrical release, completely American. Nothing about it was from the Japanese Super Sentai. They just made their own movie, and it was a huge hit. And it was really cool. I still watch it today. Like I really love that movie. And then of course the 2017 version, which came out in 2017. Is
that the one with Dacre Montgomery?
Sure. Is that the guy from Stranger Things? Yeah. Okay. Yes, it's from Stranger. Yeah, and Jasmine from Aladdin. She's in that too.
Okay.
There was the 1997 Turbo Power Rangers movie too.
Hang on, Jack. I'm getting there.
But you went from 1995 to 2017
because they're both Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That's why I did those two.
Okay.
But then they did going from Zeo to Turbo. They had a movie in between that showed how they got their new turbo powers and how somehow a 14-year-old kid was able to be part of the Power Rangers. And it was funny because when he morphed, he was a kid, so he was a lot shorter than everybody. But when he morphed, he grew. Yeah, he grew when he morphed. It was funny. It was funny to watch. So it went from that, and then there was
filled out.
Yeah, in like a second. And so then there was another one that I actually watched recently because I found it at Goodwill, I think, and it was Power Rangers in Space, a Power Rangers in Space movie, and it was really good. Like I don't know why.
Movie?
Yeah, it was a movie. It seemed like it might have been like 3 episodes stitched together, but it was on one VHS tape, and so I watched it. And this was when I was living in Memphis, and it was actually really good. So those are the only 4 that I've seen. Now I think there are more, if I'm not mistaken, but they're like TV movies, so nothing super huge. So anyway, okay.
I want to talk about the acting. What are your thoughts about the acting briefly? I mean, again, I think it was Power Rangers kind of served as a way for newer actors, especially young, men and women, to get some exposure and jobs.
It's like the teenage version of Days of Our Lives.
Kind of like WWE, where everybody, it's like a soap opera, but they're also fighting. Yeah, not a lot of
scripting. The way the scripts are written, it doesn't really afford them much to work with anyway. And
exactly, I agree.
I mean, it's at least. I mean, Star Wars prequels is dialogue's a little bit better, I'd say. But
well, it's funny, the acting in the TV show versus the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, is a lot worse. And for some reason, their acting in the
Really?
movie is a little bit better. I don't understand it. I don't know if it's
Probably this
because,
have to do with the script, I'm guessing.
yeah. I
Maybe.
mean, I guess
It's
true.
more. It's written as a movie.
Yeah,
Guessing.
instead of a a corny TV show.
Well, they had to do 60 episodes. I was seeing the
Mhm.
first series, 60 something episodes, and then you'll see. Eventually, it turns it. They produce less and less. It's like 20 something episodes.
Well,
in the past 10 years or so.
Mighty Morphin got 3 seasons, but then after that, it's just 1 season apiece. Like Zeo, then Turbo, and In Space. Like every one of them are 1 season apiece. But now there are some like what did we say? Super like Power Rangers Samurai in season 18, and then next season is Power Rangers Super Samurai. They're just a little bit different, and then Mega Force, Super Mega Force. And so they do that sometimes where they'll take, regular Power Rangers and then turn them to super, even though they're already super. I don't know.
Like Super Saiyan.
I mean, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I guess. So
because they're already powerful and they go an extra step.
Power Rangers Dino Charge, Power Rangers Dino Supercharge, Power Rangers Ninja Steel, Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel. I guess they're
okay. Wait, so in Dino Charge, do they turn into dinosaurs, or do they ride dinosaurs, or what is it with dinosaurs?
Let's see. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I believe Mighty Morphin. There's machines, there's Zords. They were already dinosaurs, correct?
Yeah, Mighty Morphin started as dinosaurs, but then. And then that's when they got their animal, the great power, and became animals. I know it's crazy.
So they turned into dinosaurs, and then but they weren't dinosaurs that turned into Rangers.
No, they.
I'm just imagining a bunch of dinosaurs in like spandex suits running around.
They're humans, and they take on these dinosaur. I don't know how to say it. Dinosaur powers, I guess. I don't know. But they're Zords. They're giant machines that they would command were dinosaurs, except for the green.
And they're usually reserved until the end of the episode for the way the end episode you're fighting the big bad, and the big bad doesn't always have a version like a Zord, but they just get bigger. They just get taller.
The main villain usually
enemies.
Yeah, she'll make them grow. She'll say, "Make my monster grow," and she'll throw her little staff from the moon to Earth somehow in like a second, and so it makes them giant, and that's why they have to use their Zords. And it's funny because I was watching. There's a YouTube channel where they have it's like I forget what the YouTube channel is called. I haven't watched it in a very long time, but originally it started out as like kids play Game Boy, kids play NES, kids watch the Power Rangers, and when I was a kid, I didn't notice this, but I think kids nowadays are a little bit smarter because in every episode, they fight, then they stop fighting, and then they have to fight them again. They grow big, they use the Megazord, or they get their Zords, turn the Megazord, beat them. But every episode, and the kids were like, "It's the same thing," and I was like, "Man,
it's a formula."
It was so funny though because this was like when I was working at Channel 7, a few years ago, and and I watched it, and they were saying, this is the same thing. It's the same thing every episode. And I was like, man, I never noticed that as a kid, like ever. But it is.
Really?
It's the same thing. Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about, because this generation has grown up with movies and video games and stuff. They're way more perceptive on like storytelling than we were at their age.
Well, and back then it was just cool. It was just cool to see, humans command these giant machines. Even in the movie 2017 movie, I was like, this is awesome. But
and the way they combined and everything.
Exactly. And so and that's why I like stuff like, Power Rangers and Voltron and stuff, because they take these giant machines and turn them into one machine. Five
Are Power Ranger movies, because you mentioned the latest movie with like Dacre Montgomery was better. Are the Power Ranger movies and TV shows getting better as it went on?
I think the TV shows are pretty much the same formula. The movies though are a little different. They're longer, so there's different things that happen. But eventually, it's even the 2017 movie, they use their Zords and they figure out how to combine them to make Megazord and then they defeat. So that part's pretty much the same. But as far as TV shows, they're pretty much the same formula.
Why are there fewer episodes then? Like you have 22 for the past like several seasons, but you had like 60 to 40 for several seasons.
I'm not sure why they did that. Like, it is kind of weird that they just went, Mighty Morphin, Mighty Morphin, Mighty Morphin, and then they're like, we're not going to do that anymore. We're just going to do, a different version every year. I'm not sure why I mean, maybe to change it up and so they can, sell more toys, so they're not selling the same toys over and over again.
Who owns the Power Ranger toys? Is it Hasbro?
Hasbro,
yeah.
Hasbro's the parent company of Saban, who created the Power Rangers. All right, I just want to play like a little game with you guys. So, Zach, you might know this, but Jake, you're gonna have to guess, and don't look it up.
There's the Google.
Yeah. Don't
look
it
my
up.
Camera.
I just want to see if you guys know the 3 rules to being a Power Ranger.
Oh my god!
Just guess. If you have to. If you can't figure it out, I'll tell you. But I just want to see if you know.
Yes, I'll guess. Gotta have attitude. Gotta have some struggle in life. Be a typical archetype of a teen.
Let me go ahead and just stop you there.
I'm gonna say like honor.
The 3 rules that Zordon gives him.
You're not even gonna let me try
because
that was a short game.
I just said that. No, I didn't give you the rules. I said the 3 rules that Zordon gives them when they become Power Rangers.
And you said to guess.
Yeah, so guess. But
I was guessing.
I can go ahead and tell you you're wrong.
Oh my god!
Isn't having attitude one of them?
No.
Do
I have to tell you? I was hoping I wouldn't have to tell you.
Stretchy pants.
Stretchy pants. Yeah, that's definitely a one they have to have.
You gotta have the desire to do good.
Okay.
Something similar to that, right?
Not really. Okay.
You have to be multicultural. Have a diverse group of friends.
I mean, technically, no. Technically, they could do it with all white people, black people, if they want to. So here are the 3 rules of being a Power Ranger, and this is what. Every time a new Ranger joins, Zordon has to go through all 3 of these for some reason. First, you never use your power for personal gain. Second, never escalate a battle unless Rita forces you. And finally, can you guys guess what the final one is?
No.
Like you're just like, no, I can't guess.
I exhausted my guesses.
And finally, and keep your identity a secret. Nobody may know that you're a Power Ranger. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, if I had to dig and really think for $1 million, I probably could come up with those.
Yeah, that's why I figured you could come, but then Jake's like, honor, virtue, and you're like, gotta have attitude. No, that's not you don't not 3 personality traits you need to have, like 3 rules to being a Power Ranger. In the 2017 movie, he doesn't mention Rita. Like in this one, he says, never escalate a battle unless Rita forces you to. In the movie, he says, never escalate a fight unless your enemy forces you to. That's Bryan Cranston as Zordon.
I forgot Cranston was Zordon. Yeah.
So let's look at. So quickly, I want to just talk about the 2017 movie. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah, I have. It's been a while, though. I don't remember much about it. So there was some British actress that played, I think, the Pink Ranger.
Yeah, the chick from Aladdin.
I didn't hear what you said because I froze, and all I heard was a clip of your voice hurtling into the void.
Oh. So where did you stop hearing me?
It was literally the last rule. He's like, you're like, the last rule is.
Ah, dang it. Okay, I'll just redo that whole thing. Not the whole. I'll just redo the rules. All right, ready?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So rule number 1, you must never use your powers for personal gain. Rule number 2, you must never escalate a fight unless Rita forces you to. And number 3, Jake, since Zach already knows because Jake's computer froze, so we're doing this again. Can you guess the last rule?
I'm gonna guess don't kill.
That should have been a rule. That should have been a rule.
That's kind of insinuated from that other the rule where you say don't
never
escalate a fight.
A battle. Yeah.
Battle.
Now,
yeah.
And finally, keep your identity a secret. No one may know that you're a Power Ranger. If I was a Power Ranger, I'd be like, hey guys, I'm a Power Ranger. But then I might get my power.
Absolutely.
How could teens not tell anyone?
Well, these were like the best of the best teens, like every
True.
Power Ranger is just like inherently good. They're just, everything about them is good. They're just all around.
They're all people. Somehow friends together.
Why can't there be like a drug addict Power Ranger and he needs to better himself? So Zordon gives him a chance.
Like inverse Power
Rangers. Let's look at the 2017 movie. So you've seen it, Zach. What about you, Jake? Have you seen the 2017 movie?
I literally have seen no Power Ranger.
Oh, okay, so you haven't seen it. Okay, so the 2017 movie.
If I remember one thing, the Blue Ranger, he's the guy that's kind of an outcast? He's kind of bullied to a degree. He gets teased.
I'm going to assume Dacre Montgomery is an asshole because he is in Stranger Things.
No, he's not. He's actually, well, here's the thing. So with the movie, they did like the original series, they didn't really like take each character and give them their own personality. They were all just good people, But in the movie, they all have these different personalities. So you have the Pink Ranger, Kimberly, who is like, the popular cheerleader who's now been ostracized from her group. So she kind of hates.
Oh, she's been ostracized. Okay.
Yeah. Well, she's been kind of ostracized from her popular group. So she's, starting to go downhill. She wants to move out of Angel Grove, right?
Cuts her hair off.
Yeah, she cuts her hair. That's a sign of, I'm changing now. I got to cut my hair.
Rebel.
Then you have Billy, who's the Blue Ranger. He's on the spectrum. That's why, cool. Yeah, that's why you think like.
And they use the color blue. That's cool.
And so he's on the spectrum. On the spectrum color.
Yeah. Blue is considered a signifier for autism awareness.
Mm. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So he's on the spectrum, but he's probably one of the better ones out of the group because he just wants to be friends with them. He hasn't really no friends because of the way he is. Yeah. And people don't realize that, he's on the spectrum. They just think he's weird. And I'm like, but then Jason, who's the Red Ranger, comes in and defends Billy. He's like he's kind of the same with Kimberly, except for his is football, and he does something stupid at the beginning of the movie, gets kicked off the football team, and he loses all their scholarships, blah, 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 blah. So he's kind of like his, dad's kind of mad at him and all this stuff. So that's kind of his backstory. Then you have Zack, the Black Ranger, who's he's very wild. He's kind of a wild card, but he's got a sick mother, right? So he's not really going to school because he wants to take care of his mom, but he's kind of crazy. And then you have Trini, who's the Yellow Ranger, and she's like a troublemaker, right? So she's been to all these different schools because she can't stay at one school. And so they all five somehow are at the same place at the same time. They get their little Power Ranger coins and they become Power Rangers in this movie.
What state does this movie take place in?
I have no idea. It doesn't say. It's just Angel Grove.
Is that the same Angel Grove as in Mighty Morphin?
Yeah, Angel Grove is the place they live in, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And so they all, are somehow together when so Billy wants to get into this, if I remember correctly.
It is California. Okay.
Okay, great. So Billy wants to do something, and he has to blow up a side of a mountain, and so he does, and that's where they find the coins, and then they get them, and then they get in this huge wreck, but they live through it, and then they become Power Rangers by finding the spaceship that Zordon and Alpha are on. Blah 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 blah. So that's kind of and they have to like grow as a team. So that's the difference between the movie and the TV show, where they're just kind of put in the position of being a Power Ranger. They're like, he's like, Alpha, find me 5 people who are 5 teenagers who can be Power Rangers. And this one, they, it's a movie, so they have to, develop as characters and a team before they can actually even get their armor. Like that's part of it. They have to be one. to get their armor. And then Rita Repulsa is in this, who's played by Elizabeth Banks, and she does a phenomenal job taking something corny like "Make My Monster Grow." It makes it sound cool.
That's what my wife says to me every night.
Gross. But she also looks really cool. And in this Power Ranger lore, she was the original Green Ranger. And so, because if you notice, her staff has a green Power Ranger coin. And like Zordon was the original Red Ranger. And so they have a falling out. And anyway, so that's the 2017 movie, and looks like Rotten Tomatoes, let's see, gave it a 51%. The tomato meter and the audience score was 65. So it did okay. Yeah, it did okay. They almost made a sequel because of the toy sales. Like the toys came out and they were gonna make a sequel, but they ended up not doing it. And it sucks because they set up a sequel by introducing Tommy in after the post-credit scene. And by introduce, I mean they showed his jacket and said Tommy Oliver over and over, but you don't actually see him.
I mean, do they think that a Power Rangers movie is gonna break the bank? I mean, I don't know. Why don't they just make a sequel?
I don't know.
Make Transformer sequels, and those aren't the greatest.
Yeah, but here's the difference between that and the Power Rangers: is people go see Transformers. The only one that didn't do as well was the most recent one, and it didn't. I don't think it didn't do well enough for a sequel. They just didn't do it, and there were supposed to be 6 of them, and I was really excited because I wanted to see where the 6th movie went to, but they didn't do it.
Oh, they only did 5?
They only did 5 Transformers movies.
Include the Shia LaBeouf movies?
Yes. So you have Transformers 1, 2, and 3 with Shia LaBeouf, then you have 4 and 5 with Mark Wahlberg.
I remember 1 being good. The only thing I remember from number 2 is that robot with giant swinging testicles.
Oh.
And that's it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Must have been a dream.
Yeah,
a wet dream of yours.
I swear to God, in Transformers 2, there's like these two little Transformer guys who are obviously standing for black people, and they go and they see this just ginormous, like monstrous Decepticon, and he has these like low hanging what are they, the wrecking balls? He's like 2 wrecking balls.
Weird.
And they're like, God damn, or something like that. That's all I remember.
Okay. If you say so. I mean, I believe you. It's been a long time since I've seen the Shia LaBeouf.
The first Transformers movie was good. I liked it.
Well, I saw it in theaters, and yeah, I enjoyed it as well. Okay.
I feel like the 2017 Power Rangers movie, it could have. I was looking forward to a sequel, I guess.
Yeah, I was too.
Not going to make one.
Here's the thing.
I like the character development. That was
I thought they did a good job, and they did a good job when Billy dies, but he ends up coming back because they fixed it to where Zordon could come back, but it was either Zordon or Billy, and Zordon made the choice to let Billy live, and so it's really good. And then that's kind of when they get their armor for the first time, and I'm going to say something, and it's going to make me sound like a loser, but
you prefer spandex.
Well, no. whenever they got their armor and they did that whole walk down the spaceship, I got a little emotional. And then they did the Power Rangers where the Zords are running across the screen, and I got emotional because they played the original Power Rangers theme song. And so I was like, oh my God, this is so wonderful.
What other nods to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TV series did they make? Did they do any of the transformation sequences, but make them a little bit more modern? I forgot.
No, in the movie, instead of them, throwing their coins up in the air and saying their dinosaur name, they had what was called a morphing grid, and they stepped on the morphing grid. That's what helped them morph. I would think that if a sequel had been made, they could have morphed on their own without the morphing grid. They would have
from anywhere.
Figured out a way to do that. Yeah, and teleport too, because they were able to teleport. But they didn't do that.
I could just see that in the sequel, like the first, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, training, trying to advance their powers.
Well,
just like in Empire Strikes Back, Luke is being trained by Yoda to master his powers in the Force. There we go.
Yeah. All right, just like Star Wars, you have to compare everything to Star Wars. Anyway, and so yeah, whenever that happened, now as far as the nods, like the thing that Rita was searching for was the Zeo crystal, which is what they needed in order to get their Zeo powers from the original series. So they went from Mighty Morphin to Zeo Power Rangers, and they had to find the Zeo crystal to do that. And I thought that was kind of a neat little nod that she's looking for the Zeo crystal the whole time, but it's under the Krispy Kreme. Remember that, Zach?
I don't remember that bit.
Billy,
that's great product placement.
Yeah, exactly. Billy figures out where the Zeo crystal is, and she's like, "But and he's like, "It's a Krispy Kreme. It's a Krispy Kreme." And she's like, "Oh, this must be a special place." He's like, "Yeah, it's a very special place." Yeah.
No.
That part was kind of like, I was like, "Oh my god," But then she ends up going to Krispy Kreme because she creates Goldar, which, if you know who Goldar is, it's technically Rita's brother in the series, but in this movie, she's the Goldar is just a monster created from gold, right? That she's looking for gold the whole time so she can build this monster. But she goes into the Krispy Kreme and like picks up a donut and starts eating it. It was kind of funny. And then in the movie,
give me your finest crystal. It's like, well, I got some in the back.
If you know what I mean.
Come back $20.
$20. So anyway, yeah, that's the movie, the 2017 movie. And I was really excited because I was hoping they would get a sequel, but of course it didn't. They try to make these huge, franchises out of. In the first movie, they spent all this money and then nothing happens. So it's been happening a lot lately, and now they're looking at creating another Mighty Morphin movie, and I think a series. Paramount wants to do another series and all this stuff, and I don't know.
So another reboot?
Yeah, pretty much.
Even if the movies aren't that great, I appreciate the effort that they're putting into it and trying to break out from anything besides like Star Wars, Harry Potter, the
Lord of the Rings,
overran series that we just watch over and over and over. Like, even if it isn't the most original, even if it isn't the most amazing script, just the fact that they're putting effort into something different is I appreciate that.
Well, some of these things that they try to make into these, they want to make these franchises out of them, like. That would have been cool franchise, but just people aren't jumping at the clamoring to see another. What was it? Alita Battle Angel and Valerian and the Planet of 1,000 Cities. Like, they're trying to take these comics. A lot of them are comics. Dune, I think, did pretty well. Of course, it won an Oscar, won several Oscars and stuff. That's the one that, I think they'll be able to do stuff with. But for some reason, a lot of times, especially since, Harry Potter and Transformers and stuff kind of stopped, they're not having much luck taking some properties and making these franchises.
I think that's because, we've talked about this before, like on previous podcasts, about what makes bad movies good and things like that. Is I think with certain franchises, like the Dune series, you can tell that there's just some authenticity behind the production process. Right. Like, yeah, they want to make it a franchise, but the directors and the people and the writers behind it obviously put effort into it. Like, I just read Dune because I watched the film and I was like, that was a good film. I want to read the book. And it was a really long book, but it was also really great. And then I went back and I watched Dune afterwards, and having read the book, I caught nods and callbacks to things that only someone who read the book would recognize, and that kind of stuff. And it was really well done too. It didn't hit you in the head with it, but it was very clearly intentional. And I think they knew their source, they knew their source material, and some of these other shows like Alita Battle Angel and the Valerian 1,000 Cities, those
close enough.
It's kind of obvious that they're trying to make a franchise as opposed to making something
and just making it.
Yeah, and just making a good story.
Well,
yeah. Are we going to get a sequel to Alita Battle Angel? I love that movie.
When I watched it, I read up on it, and I think there's still. I haven't heard anything, but when I read up on it
years ago, when I saw that.
Well, I watched it. I mean, I watched it a couple years ago, and
it's not in theaters.
When I read it. When I read that article, they were still in, like, a sequel was still in the works, but I don't know if it's going to happen or not. But then you got movies like Mortal Kombat and Sonic the Hedgehog, which are doing well. You know, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 just came out, and they're already looking at Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And
Sonic's way better than the Mortal Kombat movie that came out, in my opinion.
If you say so.
I don't know if name is Maurice.
I don't know if I could choose between Sonic the Hedgehog and Mortal Kombat, though.
You have to. They're both on a cliff. You have to kill one and save the other. Which one do you save?
I'd say Mortal Kombat.
There you go.
Yeah. Only because Sonic, like, I played a lot of Sonic as a kid, but only like the Sega Genesis version, Sega Dreamcast version, and I tried playing some of the newer games, and they're just not that fun until you get to like the Switch stuff, you know, and Sonic Colors. Sonic Colors is a really good game. But then you have Mortal Kombat, and I played every single Mortal Kombat game, and I would know, for a long time I knew a lot of the lore behind Mortal Kombat without having to go back and read stuff, but it's been a while. But I think if I had to save the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, like if it was up to me and I had to save Sonic the Hedgehog franchise or Mortal Kombat, I would pick Mortal Kombat. Now, if I had to choose between Mortal Kombat, Power Rangers, and Sonic the Hedgehog, I would say the Power Rangers. I would be like, they'd be like, do you want another Power Rangers? Do you want another Sonic? Do you want another Mortal Kombat? I'd go another Power Rangers, please.
Hot dang.
Yeah, all the way. We've had several. I really like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but we've had several iterations of as far as movies go with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Mortal Kombat looked great and pretty cool story. But man, if I had a choice, Power Rangers all the way. But hopefully
Power Rangers.
Hopefully they're talking about reboots with Paramount. Originally it was Netflix, if I remember correctly, and they wanted to make another movie reboot where it was set in the 90s as opposed to set in present day, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Dope. Yeah. I would absolutely. We need more 90s nostalgia. We've had the 70s and the 80s. Give us 90s nostalgia.
Well, it'll come as we get older, Jake.
So they think it's just going to perform better and make more money because it's set in the 90s, and
I guess
like the Mighty Morphin Power Ranger series. I guess.
Yeah, I think if my memory serves me correctly, the original idea for this new reboot was that they start in present day, but they go back in time to the 90s, and they have to find their way back. Yeah,
I don't like that.
I would have rather it just be set in the 90s, but they have to find a reason to set it in the 90s. Well, what do you? If it were me, I'd be like, okay,
why
let's do it.
Just set it in the 90s. These are the 90s versions of the kid. Maybe they could go back and it could be the team that What's Her Face and Zorg was on.
Because audience members will be questioning, why is it in the 90s?
Yeah,
we need a reason.
Well, the
understand.
Latest movie, what was it? The green and the red Power Ranger, the bad guys, right? So just make them. This is the movie where they had their falling out.
You really haven't seen the Power Rangers. For the while, the Green Ranger was a bad guy.
I'm just working off context clues from you guys.
Okay,
bring back Tommy in a big theatrical, successful Power Rangers movie would be excellent, I think.
Well,
before he dies.
In the 2017, Jason David Frank, who plays Tommy, and Amy Jo Johnson, who plays Kimberly, did make a cameo in that movie. They were just like bystanders, when the Megazord won. It wasn't it wasn't anything special. It was cool, but I was hoping they'd have a bigger role, but they didn't. Now, quick story about me. The first Comic-Con I ever went to was the Dallas Comic-Con, and guess who I met there? And by met, I mean paid to get a picture with.
The Green Ranger.
A Power Ranger?
The original Green Ranger, Jason David Frank. I took a picture with him, and I was wearing, I found like one of those seatbelt belts at FYE in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and I bought it because I knew I was going to Comic-Con, and I was going to meet a Power Ranger, and it's a Power Rangers belt. And whenever I met him, he's like, I like your belt. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. And so we took a picture and I was like, dude, can we hold your helmet? And he's like, yeah. And so we held his helmet. And then I met Catherine Sutherland. No, I met Catherine Sutherland, who is not the original Pink Ranger, but the one after that. She's Australian. Took a picture with her at the Saline County Comic-Con, which was really awesome.
I don't remember an Australian Pink Ranger, unless the actress was just Australian and she was putting on an American accent.
No, dude, she was an Australian. No, she was an Australian character. She had her accent and everything.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
They replaced Amy Jo Johnson with Catherine Sutherland.
I do remember. It was brief. She was
evil at first,
right?
and actually her name in the show was Cat, and she was a cat for a while. Like she could transform back and forth, but then she became Power Ranger. And she stayed through the end of the Power Rangers, through Zeo, and then part of Turbo, and then that's when they replaced all the Power Rangers.
Yeah, I should remember that. Yeah. Yes.
They replaced every single Power Ranger in Turbo with different people. And so that was kind of crazy, but
did they explain that, or they just hire people and just continue the series?
I'm assuming the reason why they did it was so that they could get a different face in there, different faces, and so they just replaced every single one of them. And I think
Zordon was tired of the old crew.
He's like, all right, I need. Well, at that time, there wasn't a Zordon with Turbo. It was I forget her name, but it was some floating woman. I forget her name. And Alpha 5 was Alpha 6, and she had like this Brooklyn accent. You mean, hey, what's going on? That kind of thing. It was really weird. And
Bill Hader's Alpha 5 in the movie 2017.
Bill Hader voices Alpha in the movie. And then Bryan Cranston plays Zordon, and Elizabeth Banks plays Rita, which I thought was really cool. I was excited.
Did you ever feel watching the Power Rangers that the villains were threatening?
No, because they always beat them every episode. There was, except for the Green Ranger, except for the freaking Green Ranger. It lasted 5 episodes. Every other one was, hey, there's this guy. Okay, we beat him. Hey, there's this guy. We beat him. Okay, here's this guy. And that I feel like the Green Ranger was the
one of the week.
But I feel like Green Ranger was the closest Rita got to beating them before they were able to kind of turn them to good. So anyway, let's see. What was I going to talk about?
Were there many cliffhangers in episodes that okay, they don't want to scare the children.
And it didn't make them wait. So anyway, I was going to mention the comics. If y'all have read or seen the comics have like a bigger universe than the show. They have like the grid, which is I believe it's because they have the fighting game, the Power Rangers. What's that game called? But anyway, they have the grid, which is essentially, if I'm memory serves me, is like a multiverse kind of. And so they have
you gotta have a multiverse these days.
Yeah, and so the grid is kind of like the bridge between them all and all that stuff. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't really, I've read a few comics, but I haven't read them all to where I can understand their universe. But it's a lot bigger, a bigger universe in the comics than it is the TV show, because the
comics are different in terms of tone. Does it feel more mature at all?
It does, and it's a lot better artwork. Of course, it's artwork and it's not live action, but it just looks a lot cooler because it's comics, And so the tone is a little, not much more mature, but a little bit more mature, and it's just pretty much, if I'm not mistaken, all of the iterations of the Power Rangers exist at the same time through they call the grid. And so there's a whole thing where, what if, the Tommy stayed evil and all this kind of thing, kind of like a what if, Marvel what if type thing. The comics,
taking it back to 1990s.
Seriously, have this whole multiverse thing going on. Everybody else is doing it.
Well, we need to do that for live action movies then.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But
the comics.
Well, whenever the Power Rangers movie came out in 2017, I read something that said that they're looking at a 6-movie arc for the Power Rangers. I was like, it's never going to get to 6 movies. I love the Power Rangers, but it's not going that far.
And
If anything,
Transformers
it might be a trilogy.
basically made it.
Yeah, but the Power Rangers aren't as popular as the Transformers were.
Why is that, you think? Is it because Power Rangers these days is only available on Netflix for the most part, other than going on YouTube to watch old episodes from previous seasons?
I think Power Rangers is built mostly on nostalgia. So even if they were to make another movie, it's going to do about the same as the 2017 movie did, just because people watched it when they were kids, but they're not necessarily going back to watch it, as adults. Like, unlike
just kids these days, like 5 to 10-year-olds, are they?
I'm sure that they
trying to watch Power Rangers. I don't hear about that from kids.
Not really.
I don't speak with many kids, to be honest. So
one kid, I did this little survey when I was a teacher and said, what is a TV show you still watch today and all this stuff. And one kid said Power Rangers Turbo, and which came out in Power Rangers Turbo came out in like 1998 or something.
He's an anomaly.
It's 1997. Exactly. He's an anomaly. I was like, but other than that, I don't think kids are really interested in the Power Rangers. Adults aren't interested.
Probably a greater chance that kids probably watch SpongeBob more than they do.
Yeah,
Power
Rangers. That's why SpongeBob movies continue to be made, because it's fueled on kids that want, and heck, adults. I saw the first SpongeBob.
We could do an episode on SpongeBob. Yeah,
we should do.
That was a good one.
You should do an episode on SpongeBob.
The decline in writing and how it became just stupid comedy. Yeah. I remember 1999 to like 2005 or 6 was great, but then after that it dipped in
Adventure Time and Regular Show and Clarence. Clarence is funny, and then SpongeBob 1999. But SpongeBob, I think, is when it came out, I was like 11 or 12, and so I enjoyed it, and I think it just kind of came out at that right time when some kids were watching it and some adults were watching it. It just kind of came out at the right time, and it's still going today,
Power Rangers is always going to be aimed for kids. It's not like Star Wars and where it can be both. Lucas at one time did claim he did claim it's for kids. I think he was just being snarky about that. But Star Wars could be for both. Whereas Power Rangers, even to this day, it's geared towards children and selling toys.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, so do y'all have any other final thoughts about the Power Rangers? This might be our shortest episode yet.
Go Power Rangers! All I gotta say.
I'm really hoping that they continue with this whole Power Rangers and trying to do the reboots and all this stuff, but it's supposed to happen on Paramount, so I'm pretty excited to see it. I read that they're looking at a new Power Rangers movie in 2023. So
interesting. Who was the studio for 2017 movie? Not Paramount, right?
No, it wasn't. Lionsgate. Lionsgate did this.
Okay. I mean, Lionsgate's they're decent.
Well, I guess I'll stand up for the audience and ask if someone wanted to, pick the best season of Power Rangers or jump in because they're curious. What would you guys suggest?
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Mighty Morphin. You got to stick with the.
And that's the one with 3 seasons.
Original.
And it's the original. Yeah, that's when the Power Rangers, first started. Now, my favorite iteration of the Power Rangers is the second one, the Power Rangers Zeo. I don't know why, but from what I've seen, that's my favorite iteration. I think it's just because their suits are a lot different, a lot of different. It's almost like the black sheep of the Power Rangers lore for some reason to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because they're just so much different than everything else. So anyway,
Ninja Storm was probably one of my, again, as I said earlier,
I've never
one of my favorite modern versions. Yeah, 2003.
Yeah, so there's about 29 seasons, and their most recent, I guess, is Dino Fury. Sorry, 28, 29, Dino Fury. So I might have to just watch one just to see.
And for the viewers or the listeners, just go on YouTube. You could have full episodes. Well,
it's also,
for example, Mighty Morphin.
A lot of them are on Netflix as well.
How long do these episodes run?
20 minutes.
Yeah.
20, 25, I'd say. Yeah. They're fast paced.
Yeah. They're very music and real quick, I have to mention Bulk and Skull, who are the kind of like the bullies in the show, in the original show, and their music. I love
comedic relief.
Yeah,
too.
I mean, they try to be these bullies, but they're really just kind of stupid, and they last through several seasons of the Power Rangers. They're one of the staples, I guess, or they're like consistent. They're one of the consistencies is like until a certain point. And I don't know what Bulk, the actor playing Bulk, is doing, but last I read, the actor playing Skull teaches film at a university. I don't know if he still, I don't know if he does that still, but when I read, that's what he was doing. And I was like, good for him. Yeah. But they're like one of the consistent people, like consistent characters throughout a lot of the seasons, not all of them. They
tried and having like copycats in future seasons of those type of characters.
Mm-hmm.
Vulcan School didn't work.
Yeah, if you're gonna watch any Power Rangers, start with season 1, 1993. It's super cheesy, but it's still kind of cool. And just go from there and see if you still like it. And I think most of them are on Netflix. Zach said they're on YouTube as well. If you want to sit there on YouTube and watch them. Other than that, I think I'm good on the Power Rangers, guys. You guys have any final thoughts?
I guess I'll have to check one out. I'll check it on YouTube.
Yeah, you're old enough now. I think you're allowed to. Finally, am I right?
I'm gonna hop on and I'm gonna get a call from my mom.
What are you watching?
Honey?
Watching a Power Rangers. What did I tell you about that show?
Reaction.
Yeah. What did I tell you about that show? That show's got too much violence in it for you. I'm like, Mom, I have a kid and I'm married. I don't care.
I want to watch the Super Sentai.
I think,
the first series of that and compare it. I like Japanese productions for the most part.
Well, that's why they have giant robots fighting each other, because that's what the Japanese do, man. Quickly, there's a Japanese version of Spider-Man where he had a giant robot he was commanding, which is just. That's what the Japanese do. They're like, okay, what are we gonna do? Giant robots fighting? Giant robots fighting.
That was part of the deal, apparently, with Saban and the Japanese creators of Super Sentai, that they would exchange ideas. Marvel Productions was working with
Marvel
Saban at the time. Marvel Productions they exchange ideas with the Japanese creators, so they could get the footage and the lore of Power Rangers for the American version. Apparently,
cool. Well, Marvel had nothing to do with the Power Rangers. Is that what you're talking about?
Marvel Productions. I was reading something about that. A partnership with.
Interesting.
Saban, apparently. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that. Maybe it's for the comics.
Maybe.
Anyway, okay. Well, that's I guess that's all for today. That's one of our shorter episodes, I guess. So
concise.
If you guys have any, if you liked this episode or if you didn't like this episode, you can let us know on YouTube, Spotify. What others? Apple and Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, a bunch of other places. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram. What are the other ones, guys? Facebook. I'm like scrolling through my iPad for some reason. And Facebook. One day.
I have to cut that out every time we do this. I have to cut that out.
No, you don't. Leave it in there.
Yeah, people are
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Hit us up on one of those. Let us know if there's anything you'd like to see or like us to talk about, or if there's a movie you want us to watch. We try to get to it eventually, but heck, we'll try. I think that'd be really cool if a viewer.
Honestly, if someone asked us, that would be the first thing we would do.
Yeah, I'd be like, all right, we're on it.
It's the fact that you guys engaged with the podcast. I'd be like, guys, someone asked us to watch a movie.
Yeah. If someone was like, hey, will you watch this movie, talk about it? Yep, sure will.
Hell yeah, we will.
So anyway, yeah, hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and let us know what you like, didn't like, or if you have any ideas or anything like that. And we will see you next week.